So today we have the honor and the privilege of not only baselining and running and modifying, but also doing a full ECU flash and dyno tune on a brand new 2023 Z H2. This thing is badass. It looks killer. It's a perfect Street Fighter version of the H2, which produces a ton of power once they're all unlocked and everything. We see anywhere from about 230 wheel horsepower all the way up to the low 300s with some modifications done. So very curious to see what this is going to produce today. We have a full Brock's pentacarbon exhaust that we have ordered up. We have it boxed up. We're gonna go unbox it here also later on today and do the full installation. So you'll see a great before and after as far as numbers go, looks go, and final numbers. So you can see what you'd walk away with once the bike is kind of unlocked, if you will, and get some modifications done on it. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna warm up the bike, we're gonna baseline it, we're gonna get you the completely stock raw numbers. This dyno is only about a year old, so it's basically still fairly brand new from DynoJet. So we're gonna run it, we're gonna get you some real actual data, not what they claim online. Real rear wheel horsepower, and show it up on the graph and analyze it a little bit. We'll also get a torque readout, so you'll be able to see horsepower and torque. We're not going to be able to get the AFR on this one because they have the stock exhaust system, and it's very difficult to get the AFR readings, especially because of the design of this muffler. We can't really get a sniffer in there. We'll just get baseline horsepower and torque numbers, and then once we get the other exhaust on, we're going to re-baseline it. Once we get the Brock's exhaust on it, we'll re-baseline the bike with that exhaust, and then we'll do the full ECU flash and dyno tune. Let's get started. I was honestly expecting higher numbers than this, but we only ended at 166. That was our best run, was 166.86. And then immediately after that, we dropped back down to 165, just shy of 90 foot-pounds of torque. But look, we have a very linear power band. It looks great. Now we have a little little loss in power right here, if you will. See how the torque kind of flatlines, drops off, and then picks up again. It could be air fuel, it could be timing, it could be the exhaust, it could be a lot of different things. But look what happens up here at 10,000 RPM. It falls on its face. It literally is being so restricted. It wants to make the power, but as we all know, in the stock ECUs, they highly, highly limit them, and they really restrict these things. So this exhaust is not only gonna free up a lot of airflow for the bike to be able to make power, but the flash and tune is also going to extract a lot of power out of this bike. We're going to de-restrict it, dial it in, get it really smooth, and making hopefully a ton more power than this. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this off the dyno, we're going to go ahead and throw it on the lift, we're going to take the exhaust all out, we're going to make sure everything looks good on it, and then go ahead and start the installation process. Figured it'd be pretty cool to go ahead and weigh these things and see exactly how much the stock exhaust weighs. And we are weighed in at 30.4 pounds for the stock system. Here is the full pentacarbon exhaust. So we have it all assembled, just like the OEM one, and we're gonna go ahead and weigh this now. 9 pounds exactly. So that's a total weight savings of, well, we'll throw it up on the screen. That's a huge weight savings from just an exhaust. We'll go ahead and give you guys a close-up of the Brock's. Looks pretty good. We had a little bit of fitment issues here, but we were able to resolve it. We were able to get them all connected. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this thing on, and we'll do a sound check here later on. ahead and take a break and look at the numbers so far. This is actually kind of mind-blowing. I really wasn't expecting this on this ZH2. Look where we're at currently. Now we're in the middle of the ECU flash and dyno tune. We're still trying to see what the limit is on this bike. And right now we're at 220 wheel horsepower with basically 101 foot-pounds of torque. And I just wanted to show you the difference at that top end where I targeted. Right now we're sitting at 12,000 RPM. And the difference between when we were stock, it made 138 wheel horsepower. And then with the Brock's exhaust install, we're at 147 wheel horsepower. And then now with an ECU flash and dyno tune, that again, we're still kind of in the middle of, we're at 213 wheel horsepower. So that's a difference of 66 wheel horsepower between the tune and not tuned. It's mind-boggling. And now again, this bike only has the Brock's exhaust installed. We don't have an air filter on this thing. We don't have any other mods. We don't have velocity stacks. We don't have a chain and sprocket kit. These are stock supercharger gears. Everything about this bike is basically stock except for the exhaust. So mind-boggling, very, very crazy. Big gains, massive gains, more than what I was expecting. Let's put it that way. A lot more than what I was expecting. We're gonna keep tuning this thing. We're gonna see what it can produce. It looks like our curve is starting to kind of flatten out a little bit here, so I feel like we're getting close to the end. However, it's still pulling power. So again, just wanted to take a quick break. I wanted to show this because it's blowing me away. Like, I was not expecting numbers like this. It's still climbing. It still wants to make more power. We're gonna see what it does. So the final numbers are in, and holy crap, I cannot believe how much power this freaking bike makes. It's an upright H2 bike. The ZH2 is a beast. So without further ado, let's look at these numbers here. These are just astronomical numbers. First, let's look at our baseline. So here's our stock horsepower. We're at 165 with 89 foot-pounds of torque. After we installed the full pentacarbon exhaust. Now again, all we did was install a Brock's pentacarbon exhaust. No air filter, no chain and sprocket, no velocity stacks, no increase on boost. This is still the stock boost level. There's no gears in there. All we did is install a stupid freaking, all we did was install this exhaust. That's it, that's all we did. So we raised it up to a whopping 169 and then 89 foot-pounds of torque, right? So really not a lot of change. I kind of expected that because this bike is so heavily restricted. You know, we picked up just a few horsepower right here, 169 versus the 165. It did not gain a tremendous amount of horsepower or torque. We just picked up a few horsepower and not even any peak torque. So, and then after the actual tune, look how monstrous this bike turned into all of a sudden. Now, we were pushing the snot out of it. I'm not gonna lie, we were testing its limits, and we made almost 231 rear wheel horsepower on freaking pump gas and 103 foot-pounds of torque. That's crazy. That's freaking crazy. It's a stock wheelbase bike. That right there is nuts. That thing will wheelie in 5th gear. Who knows? Maybe even 6th with the right rider. That is just stupid fast for the street. Stupid, stupid, stupid fast. If you want to get super technical, we increased the rev limiter all the way out to 13K. And not only that, but we didn't even make any power at 13K. So if you want to get super technical, we technically gained 230 horsepower for the customer here. But if we want to get back to where we're actually targeting something, let's get here at 11,000 RPM. We went from, let's say, 163 to 210 horsepower. So what are we dealing with? 40? We're at 40, almost fit. We're at 47 rear wheel horsepower. 47 rear wheel horsepower. That's insane. That's just stupid. Golly, that's stupid. So in other videos, and again, I will talk about this in many videos because I want people to understand this. I really, really do. I want people to really get the concept of how much power is being gained. Usually if you pick up 6% of power, it's gonna be very noticeable, okay? That's a very noticeable power gain, is around 6%, all right? Let's say here we're targeting 11,000 RPM. Let's just do some rough math. Let's say we added 40, even though we're at 43 wheel. Let's say we picked up, well here, we'll take this one. So we picked up 47 wheel from it being stock, right? 47 wheel at that rate, even if we take that in half, you're talking about a 20% gain. 20 to like 22%. Now again, this is all very rough math, and I'm sure some of you guys can actually run the math, but this is roughly around 20%. That's over 3 times what normally is you're gonna feel it by the seat of your pants. We're triple that. So again, just to give you an idea, that's monumental. The last thing that I wanted to point out to you guys before we call it here is the air-fuel ratio, all right? So on boosted bikes, nitrous, turbo, supercharged, anything like that, we typically run a richer air-fuel ratio, meaning we add a little extra fuel than what we normally would on a naturally aspirated bike or an all-motor bike, okay? The reason for this is because you're adding air to the bike. You're adding a ton of air into the bike, okay? And as you add air, it needs more fuel, all right? And it needs more fuel to be safer, okay? So a lot of times you get a lot of engine temp, you get a lot of hot temps. Also, you get a lot of fuel waste, okay? Bikes run a thing called port injection, okay? So what they're doing is they're spraying the injector into the port, into the runner, and it travels down past the valves. When you do it like that, you get a lot of fuel waste because you get a lot of wall wetting. It literally wets the port on the way down, and then also it sprays on the back of the valve to help cool the valves down. But again, you're wasting a lot of fuel. So what you end up having to do is adding a lot of extra fuel to make sure that the engine has enough to be safe. As we add boost, and as we add all that, we tend to dump the air fuel richer and richer as we go up. So as we're making more power, we're adding more and more fuel. And as you can see near the end here, we're about 11:8 air fuel ratio. And in fact, this really wasn't the final tune because this was actually going to the client's wife, believe it or not. And so we actually made a much safer map where we pulled a lot of this power out of it. And we kind of made it a lot safer of a map. But again, we wanted to show you what the bike could do, not necessarily how we're gonna give it to them. And they're well aware of it. He knows. He requested it specifically that we pull some of the power out. This is a lot of power for anybody on the street. So again, we just pulled it back because he requested it specifically. We just wanted to see what this stock ZH2 could do. And let me tell you something, I am super, super, super impressed. This is more than I thought it was gonna make. I mean, if we put a high flow air filter in and we do some of the other tricks like you can do on the H2, I mean, you're talking about 250s, 260s, easily 250s, 260s. Travis Yeager over at Yeagerworks, he makes intercooler kits and he does upgrades on a lot of these H2 power plants. And let me tell you something, if we got a hold of one of his kits and we threw it on this bike, this thing would probably be a 300 horsepower bike, no problem. I'm hoping that I can get my hands on another one and they're willing to go a little bit further than what this one was able to do, because I'm very curious to see what kind of power we can pull out of these bikes, especially if this is what we're dealing with stock. So anyways, guys, as always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I got a kick out of doing this bike. It was a ton of fun. Man, I really can't wait to do another one. I really hope that whoever's watching this, I hope you guys send me some. Because again, or if you know somebody, send them our way, because I'm really, really interested. I'm very curious to do some more testing on these bikes and see what else we can produce on these. So again, I appreciate you guys. I hope you gained some value out of this video. Leave us a comment, a like, a follow if you can. Let us know what you think about the video. Let us know what you think about Kawasaki ZH2. And again, any kind of feedback is greatly appreciated. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.